Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I've been watching this. I didn't think they were actually going to go today. They kept going back and forth. They did just call quorum. We're going to catch up with them right away so we can not miss too much. Of course, they're talking about how they need to elect a speaker immediately because Israel and Ukraine need money. Like I put in the title or in the description, almost like I knew that's what the whole thing was about. Funny. So, I'm going to get right into it, yo.
Our friend and colleague Jim Jordan is a patriot. He is an America First warrior who wins the toughest of fights, going after corruption and delivering accountability at the highest levels of government on behalf of we, the people. Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless for far too long. Whether as Judiciary Chair,
Elise Stefanik is the first nominator, and she has nominated Jim Jordan.
Ohio, whether on the
Not
wrestling mat or in the
unsurprisingly.
committee room, Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled. He is a mentor, a worker, and above all, he is a fighter. And the American people know, we know, that Jim Jordan is a winner on behalf of the American people. Almost 10 years ago,
And if you prefer
many of us sat with
Rumble,
our
it'll
colleague
be
Jim
up
Jordan
shortly.
in
It
this
wasn't
very
working,
chamber
and I wanted to get it quick.
when Prime Minister
quick,
Netanyahu
yeah.
delivered his historic joint address, which some of our colleagues across the aisle shamefully boycotted. Bibi pointed out that in this very chamber, we serve under the watchful gaze of Moses. He said, quote, "Overlooking all of us in this chamber is the image of Moses. And before the people of Israel entered the land of Israel, Moses gave us a message that has steeled our resolve for thousands of years. Be strong and resolute, neither fear nor dread them." He went on to say, "My friends, may Israel and America always stand together, strong and resolute. May we neither fear nor dread the challenges ahead. May we face the future with confidence, strength, and hope." End quote. On behalf of the American people, let's face the future with confidence, strength, and hope. Let's elect Jim Jordan, our Speaker of the People's House, for such a time as this. And I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, with great respect for this institution, as chairman of the Democratic Caucus, I am directed by the vote of that caucus to present for election to the office of the Speaker of the House
So
of
those who don't know,
Representatives the name of the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries,
they will,
the pride of Crown Heights, a representative from the state of New York.
They will put forward their nominees. They have to get seconds to nominees. They have to confirm their nominees. And then they will go into debate period. After that debate period, they'll take a floor vote. If that vote passes, Speaker becomes Speaker, or the appointed Speaker will become Speaker. If it doesn't pass, they go through the whole process again. With McCarthy, this took 15 rounds and a few days. So this could be a long one.
It's something that none of us imagined when we were sworn in to this office. We are here because the House has been thrown into chaos. We are here because this hallowed chamber has been led to a breaking point by two dangerous forces: extremism and partisanship. The American people place their faith in us to tackle their most pressing issues: lowering costs, growing the middle class, and standing up to those set on delivering a national abortion ban. The choice before us is simple: come together on a bipartisan path forward, or take us over the cliff. Abandon the extremism that is preventing us from getting things done, or triple down on division and dysfunction. A vote today to make the architect of a nationwide abortion ban a vocal election denier and an insurrection insider to the Speaker of this House would be a terrible message to the country and our allies. Mr. Speaker, it would send an even more troubling message to our enemies, that the very people who would seek to undermine democracy are rewarded with positions of immense power. We are talking about someone who has spent his entire career trying to hold our country back, putting our national security in danger, attempting government shutdown after government shutdown, wasting taxpayer dollars on baseless investigations with dead ends, authoring the very bill that would ban abortion nationwide without exceptions, and inciting violence on this chamber. Even leaders of his own party have called him a legislative terrorist. He once said, quote, "I didn't come to Congress to make more laws." His words speak for themselves. When New Yorkers recovering from Hurricane Sandy needed Congress to act, he said no. When wildfires ravaged the West, destroying homes and businesses, and those residents needed disaster assistance, he said no. When the Mississippi River floods devastated the South and communities across state lines needed Congress to act, he said no. When our veterans were suffering from disease and dying as a result of their service to our country, and Congress passed a bipartisan solution, he said no. When our ally in Ukraine looked to Congress for additional support to help defeat Putin, he said no. And just before Hamas's brutal terrorist attack on Israel, he said no to fully funding military aid for our ally. This body is debating elevating a speaker nominee who has not passed a single bill in 16 years. These are not the actions of someone interested in governing or bettering the lives of everyday Americans. This is nothing less than the rejection of the oath that we swore to uphold as duly elected members of this body. But on this side of the aisle and throughout this chamber, I'm convinced our oath still matters. To fulfill our obligations to the American people, we have no choice today but to vote for a leader of both character and conviction. When the Congress first began, we proudly stood next to him as our leader and made a promise to every American. House Democrats would work to find common ground on the issues that matter most to the American people whenever possible. That we would stand up to extremism whenever necessary. Only Hakeem Jeffries can be trusted to keep his word. Only Hakeem Jeffries can lead us out of the chaos and towards a path of governance. It brings me immense pride to nominate our friend, the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, as Speaker. I'm not done yet.
They just called quorum. They're just accepting nominations. So this literally just started.
With the most votes, but he is also the candidate with the most credibility. If the goal is to continue a 30-year march to hollow out our democratic institutions, weaken our democracy, and embolden extremists, there's a candidate for you. If the goal is to continue taking marching orders from a twice-impeached former president with more than 90 pending felony charges, then there is a candidate for you. The world is watching, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Our allies in Ukraine and Israel are watching and waiting. So let's have this vote, but let's be clear. A vote for the gentleman from Ohio is a vote.
I don't give a damn
on national security. It's a vote to turn your back on a bipartisan path to fund the government and avoid shutdowns, something we can only do if we reject his nomination. House Democrats are in the minority. We realize that. If House Republicans wanted to elect a speaker without us, then they could have. There is still a path forward for both Democrats and Republicans to come together to elect a speaker who can unite us behind a common purpose, keeping the government open on a bipartisan compromise that won more than 300 votes just 4 months ago in this chamber, taking up an up or down vote on help so Israel can defeat Hamas and Ukraine can defeat Putin, and reassuring the American people that their legislators have their backs. It's that simple, Mr. Speaker, and we can do it today. Let's work together. Let's elect a speaker who will reach out, a hand of bipartisanship, and deliver for the American people. That is why, once again, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I'm proud to nominate Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker and yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman yields back. The names of the Honorable Jim Jordan, a representative from the state of Ohio, and the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, a representative from the state of New York, have been placed in nomination. Are there further nominations? There being no further nominations, the chair appoints the following tellers. The gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Stile. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli. The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk. The gentlewoman from Alabama, Ms. Sewell. The tellers will come forward and take their seats at the desk in front of the Speaker's rostrum. House come to order. The roll will now be called, and those responding to their names will indicate by surname the nominee of their choosing. The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Jordan. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. Jordan. Allen. Jordan. Allred. Jeffries. Amode. Jordan. Armstrong. Jordan. Arrington. Jordan. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Jordan. Bacon. McCarthy. Baird. Jordan. Balderson. Jordan. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Jordan. Barr. Jordan. Barragan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Jordan. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. Jordan. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Jordan. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. Jordan. Biggs. Jordan. Bilirakis. Bilirakis. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. Jordan. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Bobert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bast. Jordan. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. Jordan. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. Jordan. Buck. Buck. Bouchon. Jordan. Budzinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Jordan. Burgess. Jordan. Burleson. Jordan. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. Jordan. Kamick. Jordan. Caraveo.
Okay, so we
Jeffries.
got Andy Biggs and
Carbajal.
Lauren Boebert both voted
Jeffries.
for Jim Jordan. The other one
Cardenas.
will be Mike Rogers. That will be an interesting vote to see
Cardenas.
where Mike goes because he was the holdout that withheld the vote
Carey.
to begin with. I agree 100%, Jason, though.
Carl.
The longer we go without a speaker, the better off we
Jordan.
are as Americans
Carson.
because we're not sending billions overseas again.
Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Jordan. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Jordan. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas.
So like I said, 8
Jeffries.
in that others are present category will deny
Chavez
the
DeRemer.
speaker. That's the magic number,
McCarthy.
and it looks like we got quorum. We have 2 non-voting, which is not uncommon. Sometimes they'll wait till the end, dramatics, all that
Cheerfulness
bullshit.
McCormick. Jeffries.
So Chavez DeRemer voted Kevin
Chu.
McCarthy.
Jeffries. Siscomani.
We're not going
Jordan.
to see any Democrats cross over. That's just not going to happen.
Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark
It
of
should
New
be
York.
shut down until you figure it out.
Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Jordan.
Okay.
Cloud. Jordan. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Jordan. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Jordan. Collins. Jordan. Comer. Jordan.
Good.
Connolly.
Ex-Comer voted for Jordan.
Jeffries.
We don't have to ban him.
Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Jordan. Crawford. Jordan. Crenshaw. Jordan. Crockett.
Okay, so the One-Eyed Bandit voted for Jordan.
Jeffries.
That's big.
Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. Jordan.
Okay.
Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. Jordan. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries.
There was a report floated this morning that
Davis of
if it
North
goes
Carolina.
to multiple nominations, they could be
Jeffries.
nominating
Dean of
George
Pennsylvania.
Bush
Jeffries.
for Speaker of the House.
DeGette.
That would be interesting to see.
Jeffries.
I don't want him to be Speaker, but it
De
would
La
be
Cruz.
interesting.
Jordan.
Because once again,
DeLauro.
they do not have to be a member of Congress to be
Jeffries.
nominated for Speaker of
Del
the
Bene.
House. So it could literally be
Jeffries.
anyone.
DeLuzio.
It generally is a
Jeffries.
a member of the House of Representatives,
Sonnier.
but
Jeffries.
by statute it doesn't
Desjardins.
have to be.
Jordan. D'Esposito. Zelton.
Ooh. There's 3. Oh, yeah. No, I think it's a terrible idea, Jacob, but
Diaz-Balart.
I don't like this point score. We can't
Luis.
do a Pelosi replacement, can we? No, Pelosi, the Democrats won't win this, especially first ballot. I can see 5 or 6 compromise ballot,
Dingle.
but
Jeffries.
no, the Democrats don't have the
Doggett.
votes, and the Republicans aren't going to cross over yet.
Donalds.
They're cowards, but
Jordan.
they'll play tough for a minute.
Duarte. Jordan.
What would it take for them to go home for
Duncan.
another week or two? Well, they can't complete any other work
Jordan.
whatsoever until they elect a Speaker of the
Dunn
House.
of
So they
Florida.
are on this nonstop until it's done.
Jordan. Edwards. Jordan. Elsie. Garcia.
Ooh. There's 5. I mean, anything could happen, but I don't see it happening for the first, I would say the first 5 ballots, and then there'll be
Emmer.
some threats and some
Jordan.
from Wiener Wagon.
Escobar. Jeffries. Eshu. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. Jordan. Evans. Jeffries. Ezel. Jordan. Fallon. Jordan. Feenstra. Jordan. Ferguson. Jordan. Finstad. Jordan. Fishbach. Jordan. Fitzgerald. Jordan. Fitzpatrick. Jordan. Fleischman.
Wow.
Jordan. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Jordan. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Jordan. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin. Jordan. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Jordan. Fulcher. Jordan. Gates. Jordan.
Gates voted Jordan. Okay.
Gallagher. Jordan. Gallego. Jeffries. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. Zeldin.
Wow.
Mike Garcia. Jordan. Robert Garcia. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Jimenez. McCarthy.
Wow. Yep, it's over. Oh, that's 7. One more vote outside
Golden
of
Maine.
Jordan, and it's
Jeffries.
gonna fail.
Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. Scalise.
And it failed.
Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries. Good of Virginia. Jordan.
So we're going to a second round, ladies and
Gooden
gentlemen.
of Texas. Jordan.
Not
Gosar.
crazy, but
Jordan. Gottheimer. Good of Virginia. Jordan. Gooden of Texas. Jordan. Gosar. Jordan. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. Granger.
To be fair, I couldn't
Scalise.
either. Yes, that's accurate. Round 2 will be coming up. They do not have the votes. We're well over the 8 mark.
Graves
So
of Louisiana.
this is just
Jordan.
procedural at this point. Jim Jordan will not
Graves of
be
Missouri.
Speaker of the House on the first ballot.
Jordan. Green of Tennessee.
And we go to round 2.
Jordan. Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Jordan. Griffith. Jordan. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. Jordan. Guest. Jordan. Guthrie. Jordan. Hageman. Jordan. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. Jordan. Harshbarger. Jordan. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. Jordan. Higgins of Louisiana. Jordan. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill. Jordan. Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Jordan. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. Jordan. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. Jordan. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Jordan. Hunt. Jordan. Isa. Jordan. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Jordan. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. James. Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Jordan. Johnson of Ohio. Jordan. Johnson of South Dakota. Jordan. Jordan. Jordan.
My internet decides to hate me. Give me 1 second. I'll catch back up. we're voting or we're clapping because they just voted for themselves. So Jim Jordan voted for Jim Jordan, and if you noticed, Hakeem Jeffries, when Hakeem voted for himself, he also got a round of applause for himself, because they're all narcissists. No, it was mine. I apologize
Kelly
for
of
that.
Pennsylvania. Scalise.
We back. Sorry for that interruption, y'all.
Khanna. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. Jordan. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Jordan. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy.
So again, this means absolute nothing. This is
Jeffries.
all procedural at this point.
Custer.
We also have 4
Jeffries.
non-voting so far for
Kustoff.
the Republicans.
Jordan.
So
LaHood.
they know that this is
Jordan.
there'll be statements
Lota.
made here. Nothing's gonna come of it,
Zeldin.
but they'll say, "Oh, well, we're gonna vote for this person because we're blah blah blah," you know. So, but yeah, they're clapping for themselves because they're the ultimate
Lamalfa.
narcissists, and they said their own name, so they're excited.
LaMalfa. Lamborn. Jordan. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Jordan. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. Jordan. LaTurner.
They certainly can vote at the
Jordan.
end. It's like I
Lawler.
said, it's not going to matter. So,
McCarthy.
it's not. Sometimes they might just abstain from voting altogether, just because it really doesn't matter.
Lee of California.
I would also vote for Mike Hunt.
Jeffries. Lee of Florida.
And yes, they will.
Jordan.
If we're in the 30th round, they will still
Nevada.
clap for themselves. They are narcissists.
Jeffries.
Wait, who is that?
Lee of Pennsylvania.
Did somebody just cross over?
Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries.
Keen Kelly.
Lesko. Jordan. Letlow. Jordan. Levin.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren.
I think this is more
Loudermilk.
votes than they even anticipated. Honestly,
Jordan.
13 is a lot, and we still have a
Lucas.
lot to go. We still have another 200
Jordan.
people to go.
Lutkemeyer. Jordan. Luna. Jordan. Luttrell. Jordan. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Jordan. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Jordan. Mann. Jordan. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. Jordan. Mast. Jordan. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. Jordan.
Kevin McCarthy voted for Jim Jordan. Wow.
McCall. Jordan. McLean.
Again, he
Jordan.
knows it's not going to mean anything, so he can
McClellan.
burn his vote and take the moral high ground. But
Jeffries. McClintock. Jordan. McCullum. Jeffries. McCormick. Jordan. McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry. Jordan. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Mang. Jeffries. Muser. Jordan. Mfume. Jeffries.
wait a minute, what did you just call me?
Miller of Illinois. Jordan. Miller of Ohio. Jordan. Miller
Well,
of West Virginia.
I imagine that they probably think they have the votes
Jordan.
at some point,
Miller
or they wouldn't have
Meeks.
brought it to the floor like this.
Jordan. Mills. Jordan. Molinaro.
A lot of this is game and show.
Jordan.
They want to show
Molinar.
their support for rhinos and blah blah blah.
Mooney. Jordan.
We've actually had 5
of
votes
Alabama.
for Kevin McCarthy so far.
Jordan.
I'm keeping track of them.
Moore of Utah.
So we've had
Jordan.
5 votes for Kevin
Moore of
McCarthy
Wisconsin.
as of now.
Jeffries.
We had several for
Moran.
Lee Zeldin as well,
Jordan.
and a few for Steve
Morelli.
Scalise. So we've had 1, 2,
Jeffries.
3, 4 for
Moskowitz.
Lee Zeldin.
Jeffries.
1, 3, 4.
Moulton. Jeffries.
So 5 for McCarthy, 4
Moran.
for Scalise, and 4 for Lee Zeldin.
Jeffries. Mullen.
True.
Jeffries. Murphy.
Also true.
Jordan. Nadler.
True words have never been spoken.
Jeffries.
I mean, my hands are huge. Shut up.
Napolitano. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Nagoose. Jeffries. Nails. Jordan. Newhouse. Jordan. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross. Jeffries. Norman. Jordan. None of Iowa. Jordan. Obernolte. Jordan. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries. Ogles. Jordan. Omar. Omar. Jeffries. Owens. Jordan. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Jordan. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pasquale. Jeffries. Payne. Jeffries. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. Jordan. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Jordan. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Jordan. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. Jordan. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Jordan. Rogers of Washington. Jordan. Rogers of Alabama. Jordan. Rogers of Kentucky. Jordan. Rose. Jordan. Rosendale. Jordan. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Jordan. Roy. Jordan. Ruiz. Jeffries. Ruppersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford. Scalise. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. Jordan. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos. Jordan. Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise. Jordan. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schiff. Jeffries. Schneider. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Schweikert. Jordan. Austin Scott. Jordan. David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Jordan. Sessions. Jordan. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. Scalise. Slatkin. Jeffries. Smith of Missouri. Jordan. Smith of Nebraska. Jordan. Smith of New Jersey. Jordan. Smith of Washington. Jeffries. Smucker. Jordan. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparks. Sparks. Stansbury. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Jordan. Steele. Jordan. Stefanik. Jordan. Style. Jordan. Stubbe. Jordan. Stevens. Jeffries. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. Jordan. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. Jordan. Tanadar. Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Tiffany. Jordan. Timmons. Jordan. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Tonko. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Jeffries. Turner. Jordan. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. Jordan. Van Drew. Jordan. Van Dyne. Jordan. Van Orden. Jordan. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. VC. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. Jordan. Wahlberg. Jordan. Waltz. Jordan. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. Jordan.
Well, my congressman
Webster
voted
of
for Jim
Florida.
Jordan.
Jordan. Winstrup. Jordan. Westerman. Jordan. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries.
Yeah, they keep saying, "Oh, we can't vote
Williams
for
of
the
Georgia.
person who led the insurrection."
Jeffries.
So now
Williams
apparently
of
it
New
wasn't Donald Trump;
Jordan.
it was Jim Jordan.
Williams of Texas. Jordan. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Jordan. Whitman. Jordan. Womack. Scalise.
So all the Democrats have
Yakum.
voted, so Jeffries won't hit
Jordan.
that 218.
Zinke. Jordan.
Switch pens. All right, so I have 199 to
Yep. They voted to remove Kevin McCarthy. Now they're voting for a replacement for Kevin McCarthy. Every single Democrat, every single one voted for Hakeem Jeffries. All 211 in Congress voted for Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, I take that back. Don't want to besmirch their bad name. Tony Caranderas abstained from voting, but he may put in a vote later.
The House will come to order. The reading clerk will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Bilirakis. Bilirakis. Buck. Emmer.
Did you say Hemmer?
Cardenas. Jeffries.
Oh, nope. There we go. All 212 Democrats now. Or 211. Oh, sorry. Have voted for Hakeem Jeffries.
James. Cole.
Mr. Joyce of Ohio.
Joyce of Ohio. Jordan. LaMalfa. McCarthy.
All right, Sparks is next.
Sparts. Massey.
Wow. A lot of division in the GOP for 2020. That's a lot.
All right, so you want to see. All right, so we have 212 to 200, and then we have 6 for McCarthy, we have 3 for Zeldin, we have 7 for Scalise, we have 1 for Mike Garcia, and 1 for Emma, 1 for
I count 4 for Zeldin. Do your math again. Unless somebody changed vote. now we have a period of time where they're doing the back room deals and trying to butter each other up. Let's be PG about it. Butter each other up to get votes so that he can become the next speaker. But he is a long way away. A long way away. And there you have the official from C-SPAN. No member has votes to be elected. Second speaker vote expected. And that rhymed, and I didn't mean it to. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm just making sure I have everybody putting everything together, and then we'll talk about it here in a minute. So we'll watch them kind of move around in the background there. So this is the important part. In round one, all 212 Democrats voted for Hakeem Jeffries. None of them broke ranks. None of them made a statement. None of them did anything. They all voted for Hakeem Jeffries. Hang on, I'm putting that in my notes. And we all know I can't type and talk at the same time. It's just impossible. All right, so we had 200 Republicans who voted for Jim Jordan. So the individuals that did not vote for Jim Jordan are Don Bacon, Republican of Nebraska's 2nd District, Lori Chavez de Remer, Republican, Oregon's 5th District, Anthony D'Esposito, Republican, New York's 4th District, Mario Diaz-Balart, Republican, Florida's 26th District, Jake Elzy, Texas's 6th District. Andrew Garbino, New York's 2nd District. Carlos Jimenez, Florida's 28th. Tony Gonzalez, Texas's 23rd. Kay Granger, Texas's 12th. Mike Kelly, Pennsylvania's 16th. Jen Kiggers, Virginia's 2nd. Nick LaLota, New York's 1st. Mike Lawler, New York's 17th. Ken Buck, Colorado's 4th. John James, Michigan's 10th. Another reason to get rid of John James. Doug LaMalfa, California's 1st. John Rutherford, Florida's 5th. Mike Simpson, Idaho's 2nd. Victoria Sparks, Indiana's 5th. And Steve Womack, Arkansas's 3rd. You can think of this one of two different ways. Either they're the heroes because the government's still without a leader and can't do anything to spend our money, or you can think of them as the assholes that are holding up the process so that Ukraine can't get the money it deserves, needs, and also you hate one side in this war that's currently going on in Israel. I haven't determined which one yet, but one of them you hate. So, yeah, we're just gonna kind of wait around. They should immediately go to a second vote. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Again, they're trying to make deals, trying to influence those 20 other votes to come on board. So, and we'll probably see a couple of them. But it could go the other way. We could get 25-30. We've seen it go both ways where you lose support for Jordan, but usually for the first 3, 4, 5 ballots, people hold strong that voted for the original candidate. So those numbers should stay pretty consistent for the first. I would be comfortable saying the first 5, and then we might see some movement either way and some support being lost for Mr. Jordan if he's not elected by then.
The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 432, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 200 votes. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212 votes.
See, and it's cringe as fuck that the Democrats are so
The Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of
so
California
good
has
at
received
doing
6
that
votes.
shit.
Lee Zeldin of the state of New York has received 3. The Honorable Steve Scalise of the state of Louisiana has received 7. The Honorable Mike Garcia of the state of California has received 1. The Honorable Tom Emmer of the state of Minnesota has received 1. The Honorable Tom Cole of the state of Oklahoma has received 1. The Honorable Thomas Massey of the state of Kentucky has received 1. No person having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname, a speaker has not been elected. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1,
Also, they lied,
the
but
chair
the
declares
Honorable
House
Mighty
in
Meat
recess subject to the call of the chair.
received 1 vote. I voted for myself. Yeah, I think if you can't agree on it by the end of 4, then you should be removed from your position. So
The House is in recess, subject to the call of the chair. We'll see what happens to.
okay, so this could be incredibly long, or it could be incredibly short. It really depends. So probably put up a poll. God, that would be great. Oh, thank you. Yes, please clap. Please clap. Oh no, that's right. Because unfortunately, I'm still kind of working. So I'm going to. Here's what I'll do the poll, and I'll try and hang out and chat. But we'll listen here. Shit. Come on, YouTube. We'll listen to her, whatever.
Conference, I rise
Taking the
today
poll.
to nominate the gentleman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, as Speaker of the People's House.
This is a pre-regard from the earlier vote.
We are at a time of great crisis across America, a time of historic challenges in this very chamber, and a time when heinous acts of terror and evil have been committed against our great ally, Israel. As this body convenes for the sacred responsibility to elect the next Speaker of the People's House, I am reminded of the Book of Esther. For such a time
What's up, Valvez,
as
over on
this,
Twitch?
Jim Jordan will be America's Speaker for such a time as this. A time when hardworking American families are struggling under the vice of inflation, not able to afford groceries, heat, or gas because of the trillions and trillions of dollars of reckless spending by failed far-left government. A time when millions are being illegally trafficked and smuggled across our southern and northern borders due to the catastrophic and inhumane wide-open borders of Joe Biden. A time when violent crime is skyrocketing across America, destroying our great cities, suburbs, and small towns, where people no longer feel safe in their homes or in their communities. A time when American energy production has been crushed by Joe Biden's radical, failed, far-left policies, causing seniors, farmers, and families to pay more at the pump and struggle with skyrocketing utility bills. A time when the federal government is weaponized against we the people, who they are supposed to serve, stripping us of our God-given constitutional rights and wrongfully targeting conservatives, Catholics, and even parents at school board meetings. And a time when the people of our closest and most precious ally, Israel, suffered the bloodiest day since the Holocaust, with acts of inhumane evil committed by Hamas terrorists backed by Iran, grotesque atrocities, the beheadings of babies, rapes, kidnappings, and slaughter of women, children, and the elderly, and Israelis and Americans taken hostage.
Whoa, bitch!
We
Watch
are
your language.
here
You're about to
in
get me
this very
struck.
chamber for such a time as this. Jim Jordan will be we the people speaker for such a time as this. Our friend and colleague Jim Jordan is a patriot. He is an America First warrior who wins the toughest of fights, going after corruption and delivering accountability at the highest levels of government on behalf of we the people. Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless for far too long. Whether as Judiciary Chair, Conservative leader, or representative for his constituents in West Central Ohio, whether on the wrestling mat or in the committee room, Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled. He is a mentor, a worker, and above all, he is a fighter. And the American people know, we know, that Jim Jordan is a winner on behalf of the American people.
I mean, if you have some, we can.
Almost 10 years ago, many of us sat with our colleague
can all
Jim
get
Jordan
familiar.
in this very chamber when Prime Minister Netanyahu delivered his historic joint address, which some
say
of our
Netanyahu?
colleagues across the aisle shamefully boycotted. Bibi pointed out that in this very chamber, we serve under the watchful gaze of Moses. He said, quote, "Overlooking all of us in this chamber is the image of Moses. And before the people of Israel entered the land of Israel, Moses gave us a message that has steeled our
Apparently,
resolve for
it
thousands
was that
of
good
years.
for Digger because
Be
she needs to
strong
go
and
grab a
resolute,
smoke real quick.
neither fear nor dread them." He went on to say, "My friends, may Israel and America always stand together, strong and resolute. May we neither fear nor dread the challenges ahead. May we face the future with confidence, strength, and hope." End quote. On behalf of the American people, let's face the future with confidence, strength, and hope. Let's elect Jim Jordan, our Speaker of the People's House, for such a time as this. And I yield back.
Yay, let's clap
Elise
for
Stefanik
nothing.
of New York from earlier this afternoon. Jim
I'm sure
Jordan
they'll
was
play
not
the other
elected Speaker
nominee real quick,
on
and then
that
we'll close
first
the poll
ballot,
after
falling
that.
17 votes short. Some 20 Republicans voting against Jim Jordan. Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic nominee, earning more votes on the House floor than the Republican nominee, than the nominee of the majority party. Taking your phone calls as we get your reaction. Lines for Republicans, 202-748-8921. Democrats, 202-748-8920.
Oh my
All
God,
others,
somebody please call in.
8922. Beginning on that line for Republicans, this is
Bobby, call in
Caroline,
and troll.
Tallahassee, Florida. Good afternoon.
Yes. I'm so disappointed that I could just cry. And I am so upset with the 20 people that did not vote for our country. They are actually betraying the American people. I cry out, please, please get it.
Caroline, you're going a little in and out there, but get your sentiment. This is Mojo in Merrick, New York. Independent. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm calling to say that I think the Democrats should use Liz Cheney as Speaker of the House.
What? Mojo, do you,
My support.
No, fuck it. I just made an
do you
executive
think she'll get
decision.
enough
We're-
Republicans
we're
to
staying right here.
add to Democratic support and win the speakership?
And I think Jim Jordan failed to comply. 100.
I mean,
Tell you what,
obviously, I'm going to go join
Jordan
Digger real quick,
in
but
Hollywood,
then
Florida, lines
after
for
that, I'll come back
Democrats.
and we'll
Jordan, go
comment.
Hi. Look, at a time when the Middle East is, having issues, at a time
One more
when
vote,
Europe
I'll
is
close the
having
poll,
issues,
but it doesn't
this is
really
not
matter
the
anyways.
time where people need to occupy the House, and this is the time when America
It's
needs
just
to
like
step
the
in,
vote for
right?
speaker. It
And,
doesn't fucking matter.
I said this back last year when we were trying to elect a Speaker of the House. Jeffries and the Democrats stood tall, all right? In cases like this, it needs to be the majority vote. And
Be considered
the
in me.
Democrats have continued
Boo,
to
Wendy.
show
Boo, Wendy
100%
Testerberger.
support for
Boo.
Jeffries. And I think at the end of all this, it should be Hakeem Jeffries as the next Speaker of the House, so we can start getting things done, bills passed, and funding for Israel and Ukraine.
That's Jordan in Florida. This is Jeannie, Austin, Texas. Go ahead.
Hi. I voted for Joe Biden. Will not be voting for him again. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm politically homeless right now. I do not want Jeffries to get it because I feel like anything the Democrats touch, it just turns sour. This is crazy.
Another troll.
We're not happy here, the Democrats in Texas, Austin, Texas. I'm a Mexican. My family's Mexican. And we are, we
By the way,
have
she
always
just
been
said
Democrat,
Mexican.
and now
She is
everyone's like, no way.
100% not
We're
a Democrat.
struggling. Do not want Jeffries.
Gabe, Stillwater, Minnesota, Republican. Your thoughts on this first round of voting for Speaker?
Scanning for Mexicans.
So basically, I got.
We've got a Mexican.
Jim Jordan.
Another troll because he can't even stop laughing long enough
That's
to say
Gabe.
what he's
This
saying.
is Lisa, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Independent. Go ahead.
Yes, I believe the U.S. is more divided than it's ever been before, but we must unite now. I believe this type of infighting that's happening.
All right,
in
we're
our
leaving
own
the stream running.
government,
See, I let democracy
even trying to get a
take
Speaker
its
of the House
place.
in
I just had already
I think this
made up
type
my
of
mind.
Infighting is the part of the reason that Hamas was able to ambush and slaughter God's people in Israel. The United States needs to unite now because the same thing could happen to any of us if we don't come together now.
Lisa,
Thank you.
is there somebody you think could unite the 432 individuals in that chamber today in the House of Representatives?
Oh, so there are three
Honestly,
abstaining. Okay.
I don't know if any one person could do it. I think that the fracture is so deep right now, and it's more about who's on my
It's
side.
got 20 votes.
And
No one's Jim Jordan wished
you
he
know,
got.
who's doing this and who's doing that. The problem is we're not looking at the country. We're not looking at each other. We're not looking at our needs. We're looking at our own personal feelings. These are personal feelings against each other. Well, we need to come together as a country. We've been divided before, but when it mattered, we came together as a country to do what was best for not just our country, but for the world. We need to unite now.
That's Lisa.
Unite.
This is Elaine, Charlotte, North Carolina, line for Democrats. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, I'm going
calling
to text because I'm not going to call
I'm wondering
in.
why it was a foregone conclusion, even even before the vote started,
Let's see
that
if they read it.
we were not going to get a speaker. All of the infighting, just like Lisa said, I don't know how this country has become so divided. We are I'm 81 years old, and I have never seen so much division. Even when we, the people, were out marching to get human rights or civil rights, it was not that much division, or it was not evident. Put it like that, it was not that evident. I think that what we need to do is to begin to put country first. The young woman who said that she voted for Biden and she would never vote for a Democrat again. Has she forgotten that when Biden came into office, that we were in the midst of a COVID crisis? We had thousands of people dying. The country was almost bankrupt.
Okay, I sent a text. They're not going to fucking.
But
They're
no
not going to.
one person can do anything. What we need to do is, since we are going to quote the Bible, we quoting the old scriptures, Esther and Moses, like the young woman who nominated Jim Jordan. Let's quote Christ scriptures that says, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." And when
I
we
hate my
begin to
neighbors.
do that, perhaps this country can begin the healing process. We need to start loving our neighbor. And that doesn't mean your next door neighbor. It means loving people in general. I mean, come on now. What's wrong with people? Everybody is, hey, I can ride down the street. I'm afraid to go to the doctor anymore because people are going down the street here in Charlotte.
Yeah, they might give you another jab. I'd be afraid to go to the doctor,
I
too.
just don't get
Damn.
it.
It's Elaine in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Jim Jordan achieving just 200 votes on the floor of the House. It was Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic nominee, with 212. 20 Republicans voting for someone else besides Jim Jordan. 6 of those Republicans voting for former Speaker McCarthy. 7 of them voting for Steve Scalise, the majority leader in the House and the man who was the nominee last week before withdrawing his name, and then 7 other Republicans voting for other members of the House. Olivia Beavers of Politico with the list of the Republicans who voted for someone other than Jim Jordan. They include Congressman Bacon, Chavez DeRemer, Diaz-Esposito, Diaz-Balart, Elzy, Garbarino, Jimenez, Gonzalez, Granger, and Kelly, Kiggins, LaLota, Lawler, Rutherford, Simpson, Womack, Buck, James, LaMalfa, and Congresswoman Spartz of Indiana to round out the list. Olivia Beavers also reporting that she talked to one House member who said that that member personally knows 5 members will change their votes from yes on Jordan to no on a second round. That's what they told me, saying
Wow,
this will
okay.
get worse.
So he's going to get
for Jim
further away.
Jordan. Olivia Beavers of Politico. It's Patty in Mansfield, Pennsylvania next, Republican. Good afternoon.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
I can. What's your thoughts on this first round of voting?
Oh, John, it's just embarrassing to me. It's just embarrassing to me. I've watched this man for years and years. This is when I started getting kind of shaky, but, you know, as a Republican, he screeches, he screams, he throws fits. It's embarrassing watching his behavior in hearings and with other members. And he's never even passed legislation in the House, not even talking about not passing anything into law. He has credibly been accused of covering up sexual abuse of wrestlers that were under his charge. He wasn't the head coach, I know that. But he's
misinformation.
Been accused of that.
Misinformation.
That didn't come up. In fact, I have to say, when Elise Stefanik mentioned whether he's wrestling on the mat when she gave her speech nominating, I was a little taken aback by that.
And Patty, you're talking about the story from his days as an assistant coach back in the 80s and 90s at Ohio State.
His digger brought it up, so now I got to do it.
Denied several times that he knew anything about what was happening, just to be clear about what they've said about it.
Yes, absolutely. I know he's always denied it. Well, I mean, what else would you do? But the wrestlers themselves have come forward and spoken quite clearly. But besides all of that, he's elected in. My sister lived in his district for a while, and our whole family, has had conversations about this. Mostly Republicans. But one of the things that they don't understand is with people like him have caused such division, and not just, people talk about the country being divided, families. We have a hard time, friends. It used to be that, like, our Republican, get-togethers, we'd have our picnic every year and different things. But you can't even do that anymore, because if you're not a radical, rabid person like Jim Jordan and Mr. Trump and Matt Gaetz, if you're not a screamer, if you don't support that, people who just want to break things and not fix things, people who want to just stir up fear and anger, we can't even have those picnics anymore. It used to be you have one crazy uncle show up. It's just he supports and represents that. And so that's why I personally am just absolutely embarrassed. There are good people there. We have some solid reps that are moderate that would work together with the other Republicans. And hopefully, I don't know if they can really bring them together. You look back over the past 10 years, but there are decent people. And, they had Kevin McCarthy in there. I'm not a huge fan, but I liked him. And he did pull things together. He actually got the votes to keep us from going over the edge.
That's Patty in Pennsylvania. Keep calling in. Phone lines for Republicans, Democrats, and others, and we'll keep taking your calls, but do want to show you the other nomination speech that took place on the floor of the House ahead of that first round of voting. This was California Democratic Congressman Pete Aguilar making his pitch for the Democratic nominee, the Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries of New York.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, with great respect for this institution, as chairman of the Democratic Caucus, I am directed by the vote of that caucus to present for election to the office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives the name of the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, the pride of Crown Heights, a representative from the state of New York. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, this is not the history we wanted to make here in the House. It's something that none of us imagined when we were sworn in to this office. We are here because the House has been thrown into chaos. We are here because this hallowed chamber has been led to a breaking point by two dangerous forces: extremism and partisanship. The American people place their faith in us to tackle their most pressing issues: lowering costs, growing the middle class, and standing up to those set on delivering a national abortion ban. The choice before us is simple: come together on a bipartisan path forward, or take us over the cliff. Abandon the extremism that is preventing us from getting things done, or triple down on division and dysfunction. A vote today to make the architect of a nationwide abortion ban, a vocal election denier, and an insurrection insider to the Speaker of this House would be a terrible message to the country and our allies. Mr. Speaker, it would send an even more troubling message to our enemies that the very people who would seek to undermine democracy are rewarded with positions of immense power. We are talking about someone who has spent his entire career trying to hold our country back, putting our national security in danger, attempting government shutdown after government shutdown, wasting taxpayer dollars on baseless investigations with dead ends, authoring the very bill that would ban abortion nationwide without exceptions, and inciting violence on this chamber. Even leaders of his own party have called him a legislative terrorist. He once said, quote, "I didn't come to Congress to make more laws." His words speak for themselves. When New Yorkers recovering from Hurricane Sandy needed Congress to act, he said no. When wildfires ravaged the West, destroying homes and businesses, and those residents needed disaster assistance, he said no. When the Mississippi River floods devastated the South and communities across state lines needed Congress to act, he said no. When our veterans were suffering from disease and dying as a result of their service to our country, and Congress passed a bipartisan solution, he said no. When our ally in Ukraine looked to Congress for additional support to help defeat Putin, he said no. And just before Hamas's brutal terrorist attack on Israel, he said no to fully funding military aid for our ally. This body is debating elevating a speaker nominee who has not passed a single bill in 16 years. These are not the actions of someone interested in governing or bettering the lives of everyday Americans. This is nothing less than the rejection of the oath that we swore to uphold as duly elected members of this body. But on this side of the aisle and throughout this chamber, I'm convinced our oath still matters. To fulfill our obligations to the American people, we have no choice today but to vote for a leader of both character and
Potato!
When the first began, he proudly stood next to him as our leader and made a promise to every American. House Democrats would work to find common ground on the issues that matter most to the American people whenever possible. That we would stand up to extremism whenever necessary. Only Hakeem Jeffries can be trusted to keep his word. Only Hakeem Jeffries can lead us out of the chaos and towards a path of governance. It brings me immense pride to nominate our friend, the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, as Speaker.
Okay, so I heard no reason why we should elect Hakeem Jeffries. I actually heard a full-throated endorsement for Jim Jordan, who said that he didn't want to give a bunch of money to Ukraine and waste a bunch of money in meaningless bullshit.
He may just be the candidate with the most votes, but he is also the candidate with the most credibility. If the goal is to continue a 30-year march to hollow out our democratic institutions, weaken our democracy, and embolden extremists, there's a candidate for you. If the goal is to continue taking marching orders from a twice-impeached former president with more than 90 pending felony charges, then there is a candidate for you. The world is watching, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Our allies in Ukraine and Israel are watching and waiting. So let's have this vote, but let's be clear. A vote for the gentleman from Ohio is a vote to turn your back on national security. It's a vote to turn your back on a bipartisan path to fund the government and avoid shutdowns, something we can only do if we reject his nomination. House Democrats are in the minority. We realize that. If House Republicans wanted to elect a speaker without us, then they could have. There is still a path forward for both Democrats and Republicans to come together to elect a speaker who can unite us behind a common purpose. Keeping the government open
as long
on a
as that common
bipartisan
purpose
compromise
is the
that won more
Democratic
than 300 votes
principle.
just 4 months ago in this chamber. Taking up
The
an up or down
Democrat
vote
principle,
on help
excuse me.
so Israel can defeat Hamas and Ukraine can defeat Putin, and reassuring the American people that their legislators have their backs. It's that simple, Mr. Speaker, and we can do it today. Let's work together. Let's elect a speaker who will reach out a hand of bipartisanship and deliver for the American people. That is why, once again, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I'm proud to nominate Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker and yield back.
That's what I'm saying. I was on the fence until I heard him
earlier
talk for the
today,
second time.
Nominating
So,
Hakeem Jeffries.
yeah, I was legitimately on the fence until I heard him give a full-throated endorsement of Mr. Jordan. Do I think Jim's the perfect person for the job? No. Do I think he's probably the best option that we have? Probably. Because they're not going to do anything dramatic. They're going to play their games and they're going to do their back and forth, and you'll see fundraising emails. If I get any, I'll certainly toss them up and show you guys how ridiculous it is. They might abstain because of recent criticism for doing so, but God, they love their money, so maybe not. But let's take just a brief moment. Let's hit that like button. Let's hit that subscribe button. Help the media out. Thanks, guys.
We get rid of that cult, America will function properly again.
All right, Robert, so what do you think the party does at this juncture, though? They've recessed subject to call of the chair. They could have gone for a second round of voting, but, Jim Jordan decided not to do that. So now what? What do you think they should do?
I think Jim Jordan's hypocrisy only goes so far, as they said in Tombstone, Doc Holliday. They're going to have to regroup, and hopefully they'll do Mario Diaz-Balart, and I'm sure he'll win on the first vote.
All right, Mario Diaz-Balart voting for Kevin McCarthy in that first round of voting earlier
Mario
this afternoon.
Diaz-Balart?
Gavin in Harvey, Louisiana,
No,
Democratic caller.
there's
Hi, Gavin.
no way.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Your reaction?
I just want to say, let's just look at this. It's just 14 days without a House Speaker. And I hope everyone at home is watching. This is what happens when you put extremists in the House of Representatives. This is Donald Trump's doing. If Donald Trump would have endorsed Steve Scalise, we would have a speaker. But because he did, Republicans are fumbling, and they have elected the most extremist member of their caucus, Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is not fit to be speaker, and I applaud the 20 Republicans that stood against him. And I also call those 20 Republicans to join us to elect a House Speaker that is willing and that is fit for the office, and that is Hakeem Jeffries.
All right, Gavin. Christopher, Kentucky, a Republican.
Yes, I was calling y'all just to say this, that I believe that instead of the Republicans and Democrats, nominating two different people for her to be speaker, I think it should be, we the people that should be electing the House Speaker just like we elect the president.
Well, how do you think that would work?
Well, I'm not too sure, but I do feel that very strongly because the Republicans cannot, get their stuff together to even elect a House Speaker.
All right. And it's been, as we said, 2 weeks without a House Speaker for the U.S. House
he's
of
on his way to Israel
Representatives.
right now.
2 weeks ago, 8 Republicans voted to ouster
second carrier
Kevin
group.
McCarthy from that top post. Today, 20 Republicans voted against Jim Jordan getting that spot. Tina in Mansfield, Texas. Hi, Tina.
Hello. I just wanted to say, number one, I want to thank my representative, Jake Elsie, for not voting for Jim Jordan. Okay? That's restored my faith in politics. Number two, I don't know
Your
how
faith is restored
Jim
in politics
Jordan is even
right now?
a congressman, much less anywhere near the speaker's
Because he got
seat.
voted in by the people as
I
his
heard the
fucking
caller
district. That's
before
why he's a
state
congressman.
That, there was credible evidence against him, stating that his failure to report sexual abuse while he was at Ohio State. That is very credible evidence. Okay?
Oh, you think
the
so?
other thing, too,
Oh,
for
did
people
you
to
investigate
remember,
it?
Jordan asked for a pardon from Trump before he left. You don't ask for a pardon unless you've been involved in something that is illegal and you know it's illegal. He's confrontational.
Or you ask
He's
for a
never passed a
pardon
bit
if
of
you know the
legislation.
Democrats are going to come
The
at you no
fact
matter
that
what
he
the hell you
voted
do,
against our veterans,
and you're
I
trying to
find
protect yourself.
extremely abhorrent, considering what
Take another
I
hit from your
can't
crack
think
pipe.
of the word right now, doggone it, but especially the people by the burn pits. What kind of fatalities their families and everyone else has
Like a DNC fundraising email.
I think
She brought up Jim
Jordan
Jordan's
is a
sexual
disgrace
abuse
to our country.
scandal
And
the burn pit.
him in a position of Speaker of the House is just unforgivable in my estimation.
Got it, Tina. Tina, did you call? You noted at the top that Jake Ellzey, Texas
Tina,
Republican,
you know you're high,
in the
right?
6th district there, your congressman, you said, he voted against Jim Jordan. He voted instead for Mike Garcia, Republican of California. Did you call his office ahead of today's vote?
I did. I urged him. I wrote him and I called him and I urged him, please, whatever you do not vote for this man. And I'm just
Of course,
so
he listened to
extremely
you and
proud.
you alone.
I'm basically an independent.
Did you vote for Jake Ellzey in
No
the
shit,
2022
you don't tell
election?
me that.
Actually, I did.
You did. So would you vote again for him in 2024 based on how he voted this afternoon?
Would. Yes, I would, because he shows that he has integrity. He's not, he's not in Congress. He's going to do whatever they tell him to do just to keep power. There's too many people like that right now that's working against the American people. The only reason they're there is to keep their seat. Unfortunately, we have too many of those folks in government right now. And so I applaud Jake Ellzey for taking that stand. I hope
Tina, what's your drug of choice?
Stay strong. My final word is Jim Jordan does not need to be anywhere near that speaker's seat.
All right. Understood, Tina. Moments after the first round of voting for Speaker concluded, you saw the House recess subject call to the chair. Lawmakers left the chamber. Chip Roy, Republican of Texas, who voted for Jim Jordan, talked to reporters. Here's what he had to say.
I don't know, but I mean, I would certainly look for it to be today.
Are you surprised to see 20 holdouts on Mr. Jordan?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is Jim got 200 votes for Speaker of the House, and if you had asked somebody that about 4 years ago, people would have looked at you and laughed. I think at the end of the day, we're in a position where now people can, I mean, they're out there. Their constituents will let them know whether they're for them or against them. That's true for all of us. We all have to, look at our constituents in the eye and tell them why we do something. So we'll see what happens over the course of the day. I expect we'll probably go back to the well at some point today.
Do you think that some of those
Have you ever done that,
Chip?
Chip?
Before the day's out?
Not very, I don't enjoy being in the prediction business. What I know is we all have to go listen to our constituents. So we'll see what happens.
Do you expect him to offer anything to folks? Do you think this is a policy?
Which means they're all headed to a titty bar in
disagreements
D.C. and
I
we
mean,
won't
you'd
hear
have
from
to
them
talk
for
to
a
Jim
couple
about that. I
hours.
mean, I think my perspective is Jim's standing up for the American people against this town, basically, and saying we need to change this place. So, people aren't looking for him to be, cutting deals. I think getting people to understand how you approach things, that's a different thing, right? I mean, how you approach the spending process, how you approach the CR appropriation fight, how you approach Ukraine funding, how you approach the border. I mean, I think explaining those things makes sense, but, deal cutting, no.
You don't think 16 votes is insurmountable?
Nothing's insurmountable, right? I mean, it's a
Ukraine
matter of
any
working
money
with people,
at
trying to figure
all.
out what you can do.
How many rounds should he go before you find a different nominee?
I mean, that's up to him. I mean, I'd certainly go for a while to go through the process. I mean, we had some
Patrick,
debates.
don't
This
get me
is
wrong,
fairly
brother.
open that
I do
we were
too,
trying to make some
but-
changes in the conference to see if we could go through some cycles there. The conference said they didn't want to do that, so now here we are, right? So we'll see where it goes. I think very much so, and I think you're seeing that there. I mean, there's a lot of people there that if I'd asked you again 2 years ago, 4 years ago, this individual's going to vote for Jim Jordan for Speaker, you might have said, no, I'm not sure about that.
I'm going to have to
Jim's
disagree
done
with you
a
on
lot
that
of
one,
work uniting the
Dance.
conference, and
They know too
we're
many
pretty united
secrets.
conference on most of the issues and what we want to see get done. So we just got to work through this process.
But how do you change the votes of lawmakers who aren't opposed to Jordan because of policy, just because it's Jim Jordan and the faction of the...
I mean, you'd have to ask them and say, well, why do you oppose Jim Jordan? Like, give me your reasons for why you're voting no, right? I mean, is it just because you're angry? That's not a message. I mean, so, go to the American people and explain your vote. Explain who you're for. I look forward to all of my colleagues doing that, and we'll see that unfold over time. Thanks, guys.
Texas Republican Chip Roy on the Capitol steps following the first round of voting here today in the nation's capital for Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan unable to get the votes that he needed. The magic number is 217 today because of 2 vacancies and 1 missing Republican who's out of town. You just heard Chip Roy say that he thinks Jim Jordan should keep going, keep voting on the floor until he gets the number. Olivia Beavers, who reports for Politico, sending this tweet out earlier today. I personally know 5 will change their votes from yes to no on the second round. That's what they told me. This will get worse, one House member tells me just now. Scott Wong of NBC sending out a similar tweet from a Jordan backer saying they know of 5 to 6 who were a yes on that first round, and then they would
wasn't a
switch
yes, no vote?
to no if there is a second round. We are in a holding pattern right now, waiting for the House to come back, subject to the call of the chair. David in Mulberry, Florida,
Well,
Democratic
somebody's got to
caller.
be in
Let's hear from you,
Ukraine,
David.
Brian. Jeez.
David, you there? Mulberry, Florida, Democratic caller. Your reaction to the Speaker election.
51st state. I mean, somebody's got to be in Ukraine.
David, you with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not in Mulberry. I'm in Lakeland, Florida.
Got it. Go ahead and talk, David.
I will tell you my thoughts on this. As a lifelong
What's up, Baker?
Democrat and a recently disgusted Democrat.
Yeah, because they don't take their job seriously, and
I
they
think
don't
the
care.
Republicans need to go in there in lockstep, vote Jim
sorry, I'm talking to
Jordan
myself.
in, get this over with, get the country back moving. And as far as some woman that called in from Maryland or out east about, Jim Jordan was involved in some sex scandal with the wrestling department at Ohio State. Well, you think Joe Paterno was involved? Poor old Joe Paterno, was dying of cancer. And they railroaded him from A to Z.
All right, so David, bring it back to the Speaker
I
race.
missed something.
The
I
Speaker
support his
race,
message, but I missed something.
The Republicans need to do what they got to do. Vote like the damn Democrats. Vote in lockstep. Vote. Nobody will ever remember 20 years from now who the Speaker. They'll remember who the president was, but they'll never remember who the Speaker of the House was.
I disagree. I'll never forget
Scott
Nancy
Wong
Pelosi.
of NBC News joining us from Capitol Hill. Scott Wong, we just heard that caller say Republicans need to get in lockstep.
Oh, I was
What are
going
the
to answer your
chances of that
question, Baker,
happening
but
today?
I got to wait for this guy.
Well, as you saw on the House floor just a few minutes ago, they are anything but in lockstep. You were reading some of the tweets from Olivia Beavers and myself. Very similar reporting. I just spoke to a Jim Jordan backer downstairs just a few minutes ago who said that they know personally 5 to 6 members, Republicans, who had just cast their ballot for Jim Jordan, but on the second ballot now will vote for somebody else. That does not bode well for Jim Jordan. He wants to shrink the number of defectors Instead, there's a possibility we could see the number of defections, which stands now at 20, really start to grow and balloon. And at that point, it really would be over for Jim Jordan. Perhaps that is a reason why, instead of going right to the second ballot, that he is regrouping, huddling with his team, his whip operation. We saw him conferring with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy in the moments after the gavel slammed down. But the Republican Party right now is really in a state of disarray, and a lot of lawmakers are scratching their head as to what the next step is at this point, Greta.
Why would those 5 to 6 switch from yes to no?
Because it's all a PR stunt.
Well, I think the reasoning would be Jim Jordan is the party's nominee at this point, at this moment in time for that first ballot. But his opponents in voting against him, 20 defectors, demonstrated that Jim Jordan is far away from being able to secure those 217 votes that he needs. He fell, in fact, 17 votes short, only getting 200 votes today. And so the thinking from, I think, some of these individuals is that, well, Jim Jordan can't get 217, just like Steve Scalise could not get 217. Now we have to move to a plan C or D. Or another scenario would be to leave Speaker McHenry, the Speaker pro tem, in that position, grant him a few more powers to enable legislating to start happening again.
No.
Because remember, Greta, we've been 2 weeks now without an official elected Speaker of the House. And in that time, no legislating has occurred on the House floor at a time when, we are now exactly 1 month away from the next government shutdown, when there are demands for additional Ukraine aid and additional aid for the war in Israel. And
Fuck
so
Ukraine.
there are some really heavy issues that are hanging above the Capitol right now, and we have not seen any sort of activity for the better part of 2 weeks.
Where are the key players at this moment?
Well, it is unclear. I think they are huddling in their respective offices. You have to imagine the leadership is trying to figure out a path forward, if there is a path forward for Jim Jordan. I was with lawmakers as they were walking back to their offices, the rank and file lawmakers. So they are awaiting word as to the next step. It is possible we could see additional votes later this afternoon, but we are sort of in a holding pattern, a wait and see mode as Jordan figures.
Scott, you're wrong. So here, I want to get to a couple things, and I gotta, yeah. Politicians have the most vacation days of any job, so he couldn't be there today. Yeah. Well, it's all just a game, and nobody takes it seriously, and nobody really cares. All they care about is the next check clears, and that they can stand up there and spew their talking points, and it's disgusting. Yes, they do. Exactly. It's all the same. It's all a game. I mean, we saw it with McCarthy. We saw 15 rounds of voting. Did anybody actually change their mind, or was it just bullshit all the way through? And I lean a little bit more towards the second one. I don't know. Exactly. Never forget Pelosi or Paul's hammer. Alex, no. All right, I saw another one that wasn't racist towards Mr. Wong, but that's exactly what we've been arguing for. So, bro, I said I could become speaker. I nominate myself. I ain't got friends like that in this this current congressional session, but I would accept Speaker. God, I'd get some shit done. Shut it down. Stop spending my money. No, don't grant special. I mean, yes, I agree, but no, don't grant special powers to somebody so you can just subvert it again and spend more of our money. You see what the priority is. You see what the concern is. We need to send more money to Ukraine. We need to send more money to Israel. No, we don't. We don't have it. I hate to burst everybody's bubble. I think everybody here is intelligent enough and connected enough to know that we just don't have it anymore. It's not there. Like, this money's not in our coffers. It's not. Our national debt is so ridiculously beyond belief. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the ammunition. We don't have the missiles and we just, it's not there. It's no longer available. So they're going to have to go get it elsewhere. We can't contribute right now. We have a crisis here. Take care of here first. You know what the main concern is? Balancing the budget, getting the debt down, and fixing all of the ridiculous things that are broken here in the United States. But you won't ever hear anybody argue that. You won't ever hear anybody talk about that because it's not popular. Then it's so frustrating to watch this political class just shit on what we need and not give a damn. In the words of Donald Trump.
I don't give a damn.
They don't give a damn. Good. Good, because I do too. Maybe. Well, we already did. We sent 2,000 in tonight's World War III update. We sent 2,000 Marines over. Supposedly they're all medics. I don't buy that for a second. You don't send 2 carrier strike groups and 2,000 medics. Nope. You send intel operations and you send people that can protect those intelligence officers. Because if not, you're a dumbass. Because that's a lot of boat that you just sent over there. And you need targeting, you need ground reports, and you need reliable intelligence. There's no way they sent over 2,000 medics. And if they did, our country is much worse off than it ever has been. Yeah, so we're a debt-based economy, so we can never actually, the fractional reserve and the debt-based system, we can never actually pay off the debt that we owe, ever. There's never a way for us to pay off the debt that we owe. There's more debt, based on the way our systems ran, than there is ability to pay it back. We could never pay it back. It will never be something that is reconciled. We will never pay it back based on the way everything's created. Oh, don't sell yourself short, buddy. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, probably. Well, there's probably special operators. I'm not sure. They're saying they were all medics, so I only know what official reports are, and apparently I spread dangerous misinformation according to YouTube, so wouldn't want to do any of that. So, yeah. No, but in my opinion, there will be some special operators and special forces in there, and I would be surprised if there wasn't. Oh, is Jeffries talking?
Jordan from Ohio. I have several friends that live in Ohio, and they tell.
So we'll see what happens there, but yeah. So probably some SEALs. I don't know what else they sent, but yeah, right. Gross. That's exactly. Let's go, Brandon. Yep. There's not enough money in existence to pay off our debt. It will never happen. I saw what you sent me. I'm kind of running a weird system because I'm at work, so I'll check it in a little bit. It's not as easy to do it. Oh, that reminds me. Diablo 4 Season 2 starts today. I don't know what time it kicks off, but I have to create my character this afternoon, maybe. Well, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to tell the difference between the go-go dancer's perfume and fresh scent gain. Well, not if you have experience with it. See what Massey has to say.
Paul Ryan in this race. If you remember back when Kevin McCarthy decided not to run after running for a while, they brought Paul Ryan up, and he had a good brand nationally, and he had a decent inside game, and he could raise money. But there's no Paul Ryan. There is no close second to Jim Jordan now.
If Jim Jordan doesn't make it, are we now then we're talking about?
I know. It's my company, though. I can do what the fuck I want.
I do think Jim Jordan's going to make it this week.
If he doesn't, do you see McCarthy making a comeback, or Emmer being sort of the next guy with his hat in the ring?
God, not McCarthy back again.
Got some votes.
You got to vote. I got to vote. That doesn't mean just because you got to vote doesn't mean you're going to be speaker.
Well, McCarthy,
if it does, I'll throw my name in
McCarthy
there.
had 8 people toss him out of the speakership, and 20 say, no to Jordan right now.
Look, Kevin McCarthy is behind Jim Jordan, and he's got a lot of people who were going to vote for him today, who he talked to, that didn't, and I think he'll talk to the ones who did. And at some point, if Scalise is voting for Jim Jordan and Kevin McCarthy is voting for Jim Jordan, you look kind of silly to vote for them.
You think there's some deals?
We'll talk about that in a second.
With like the New York delegation, a lot of votes there. They want salt, tax relief, other things they care about.
This is the reason Jim Jordan is the only viable speaker candidate we have. He's the only one who can get elected without cutting deals. Everybody, and that was the demise of Kevin McCarthy. And I supported Kevin McCarthy, but he had so many arrangements and deals that they became almost mutually exclusive. But Jim Jordan has gotten this far without a single deal, and he's got a plan to keep us from getting into a shutdown. And he's the only one who can reset the expectations that had been set earlier with conservatives. And that's why I think he's the only viable candidate we have. And I think he's going to get there this week.
All right, thank you.
Kentucky Republican Tom Massey on the floor of the House steps following the Speaker vote earlier today. One round of voting.
Do you think anybody who's been around me for more than 30 seconds doesn't know exactly who I am? So, love that Biden's going to Israel. Like, all they need to worry about is his security, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it might be a setup. They might be doing it intentionally. There's some concern that they might be intentionally, how do I say this without, we're after 2 hours, I should be all right. Maybe doing a little sacrificial lamb type deal. I know that it's harder in the biblical context, but maybe a little sacrifice going on. It's a nightmare for a president to enter an active war zone in a war that's like that. It's going to be interesting. But I think that even if it's not an intentional thing, I think they have it set up whereas collateral is okay. They're okay with the collateral damage. So if it does happen, it's not going to be the end of the world to any of them. Like that's a risk that they accounted for. So if it happens, of course you'll get all the rhetoric and all that stuff, and there'll be counters and da. But I think he might just be a pawn that in the eyes of the federal government is worth giving up for further control of the board. We're talking about chess now. We're not talking about potatoes. So I'm being careful. I'm talking about chess. Chess. Exactly. Yeah, chess. Or potato farming. I mean, I definitely wasn't talking about former Vice President Joseph Robinette Biden. I envy this man, and this is why. I'll show you why. You guys will be moved to tears with this.
My heart. There's nothing our nations can't achieve if we do it together. I really mean it.
We just can't
So
seem
thank you
to
all. God bless you all. Let's go.
To disagree.
Let's go lick the world.
In a
Let's
way
get
that
it done.
we take in consideration other thoughts and
I
not
think we
be
all
so
should.
negative against everyone. And it doesn't make a difference to me.
Exactly.
Who becomes
I was just
the
thinking about
speaker.
being a pirate.
We just need to have everybody working together.
Okay, Walter. Well, Manu Raju of CNN reporting similar to Eric Wasson of Bloomberg. Jim Jordan to force another vote today. Quote, the House needs a speaker as soon as possible. Expect another round of votes today. It's time for Republicans to come together. That from Russell Dye, who's a spokesperson for Chairman Jordan. Chairman Jordan is chair of
So I
the
think
House
that
Judiciary
realistically,
Committee.
we can probably expect
Keith
another
in Dayton,
vote here
Ohio?
coming very, very shortly. If
Yes, how you
that's
doing?
his.
Doing well.
I mean, you know they're not going to hang out past
I just
work
want to
hours.
comment on
It's
that.
already 3
I
o'clock.
just don't understand
So
if Republicans would have had any common sense to say Jim Jordan brings too much baggage, he's not going to get enough votes. They should have thought of a Republican that maybe both sides
like who
could agree on
Who?
to vote as speaker. At
There
this
are two
point,
warring
we may go to 15
factions.
votes like
There-
it was in January when they was trying to get
there are
McCarthy
rhinos,
in,
and
that
then
didn't
there
work out.
is
Now we
America
don't have a
First.
speaker
There
again. We
is
can't get
nobody
no
that
legislation
crosses
done.
that
Nothing passed.
divide.
They need to understand they're there for the American people. I remember, I just was thinking about the
I can't
last
think of a
person,
single member
congressperson that was on, I think Massey, who mentioned something
that
about
would fit
deals
that
and
bill.
deals and they need to make deals. They're not there to make deals. They need to pass. They're there to pass things to make it better for the U.S. citizen. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, whatever. They need to start passing things that's going to help us, help our allies.
They don't care about us, brother.
Votes for McCarthy. I hope it don't take 15 for Jordan or whoever, but he should not be up there. He should be disqualified for even running for speaker for being an supporting the insurrection, never
Shut
getting
up.
anything done. That's why I say the Republicans should have find someone that both sides can vote. So we need to
insurrection.
get us a speaker by now.
All right.
Because
All right, Keith. All right. Democrats also talking to reporters following that first round of votes for Speaker. Here's Steny Hoyer, the former Democratic leader of Maryland.
You talked a little bit earlier about conversations with other Democrats, maybe even some Republicans, about some kind of consensus speaker that could get Republican and Democratic votes. Do you expect that those conversations are going to pick up? Have they already started to pick up?
I think it would be surprising if the conversation hadn't occurred. And people are talking to one another. We have a House that has now been shut down by the extreme wing of their party 4 weeks now. Now this is our first day of meetings, so we'll see where it goes. And that needs to stop. And the way it stops is for Republicans to decide that they want to go to a place where they can get votes, as opposed to going to places that they've lost votes. He got less than McCarthy got, so we'll see what happens.
What does a consensus speaker, look like? The logistics look like in real life. Like, would Democrats ever nominate someone other than Jeffries?
No, I don't think we have to nominate. We're going to nominate Jeffries,
See, and that's exactly. Sorry, I'll let him go.
They have right now more votes than we do. They have more members than we do, and but we need a speaker who's responsible, a speaker who has a appreciation for the institution's role in our democracy and in making our government work and making America stable and competence building rather than competence destroying.
So in practice, if Republicans chose someone who met those standards, would Democrats just not show up for the vote and let that person become Speaker? I guess I'm just curious what that would actually look like.
Well, a lot of different ways. One option is we vote for a Speaker that we think will be responsible and effective. We have an acting Speaker that I think wants to be responsible. So there are a lot of options available to us, but...
would you support giving McHenry more power? That's
one option. I'm not going to choose my options at this point in time, but I want to choose an option that has the House of Representatives working on behalf of the American people and providing some stability in our country and in providing the aid that Ukraine needs to fight despotism and destruction and international criminal law breaking, and our friends in Israel the same. And I think most members want the House to be working. I think most Republicans do, and all the Democrats do. And I would hope we would get to that end in a way that gives confidence that we can work together.
Do you think a Speaker Jordan would make it easier for the Democrats to take back the House?
I think probably the answer to that is yes. I don't think America wants extremism. I don't think America wants its government shut down. I don't think it wants
You're wrong,
us
Stenny.
not to help our allies.
You're wrong,
and
brother.
friends, like Ukraine and Israel. I don't think that's what the American people want. So I think it would help.
Have you talked to?
But that's not why we voted the way we did. I think. We may have been cynical and said, okay, we'll let you be speakers. That's not what we want to do. We want to have the House operating in an effective manner for the American people.
Have you talked to Patrick McHenry about potentially empowering him or him just running for the job?
I haven't talked to McHenry recently, no.
What would Speaker Jordan mean for Ukraine, from Ukraine's perspective?
Well, look, I think we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna make sure that Ukraine has the resources it needs to confront a war criminal in Vladimir Putin and win this war in Ukraine. And I think we'll get there.
Do you think a Speaker Jordan makes a shutdown more likely?
There's no Speaker Jordan. You mean if he were Speaker?
Speaker Jordan makes
well, it's so hypothetical. He voted against 36 out of 37 continuing resolutions. That doesn't give you any confidence that he's going to fund the government of the United States of America.
You said you
haven't. Steny Hoyer, Democrat of Maryland, talking to reporters.
Okay, so this is what pisses me off about the Democrats. So they said, well, we need it to be bipartisan, and we need it to be overwhelming, and have a consensus pick for the Speaker of the House. Well, would you be open to supporting anyone else? Nope, it's got to be Hakeem Jeffries. So we got to play together, but it's got to be your rules, your game, and the way you want to play it. So and anything else is dividing and being ridiculous. And that's the same rhetoric that they use over and over and over and over again. No, of course it couldn't be somebody else. Like, it has to be our guy, or you can go kick rocks and flip-flops. And it's just so disingenuous to say, yeah, well, we need a consensus guy. We need to come together. We need to agree. We need to do this, but it's our guy, or shut the fuck up and go back to your hole. It's so disgusting.
Hezbollah, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And Iran, because they're all joined together with Hamas. It's disgusting. And if we vote in an individual, his constituents should get smart by now and vote him out. I mean, that's the only way he's going to leave. I wish they had terms for both Congress and Senate, just like they do for the president. I would like to see Hakeem Jeffries in there. I think he's the best moderate for the position at the moment. We've got to get this country running, and we have to get back. This is a horrible time for the United States to be in this kind of a position. We need to have somebody that's got some common sense, who cares about this country, and I do believe that Hakeem Jeffries fills that slot right now.
All right, Jacqueline. Nancy in Columbus, Ohio, Republican.
Hi. I just think it's pretty interesting that there's only 17 votes needed for Jim Jordan to become the next Speaker of the House.
17 more. Nancy, he had 200. He needs 217.
I know, but he already has the 200 votes.
Sure. Okay.
So I'm just thinking, I think it's by design that there's 17 votes needed, and I think it's waking up the American public that a time has come for the American people to take their country back from the elite leaders that have suppressed us for so long. And it's a really wonderful time. It's a very difficult time because it's like back in the early days of our country when tyranny was happening with Britain overtaxing us. We're taxed on everything. We're taxed on the wages we earn. It's insane that we've let it go on for so long. So 17 is the magical number. We'll get there today. And please, America, stand up and see what's happening. Open your eyes. See that the time has come for the workers, the true workers of America, the backbone of America, who provided for their families with taxation on their back for so long. Please wake up, America. We need everyone on board on this.
All right, Nancy. It's 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. The House is in recess, subject to call of the chair. While we wait to see what happens next, Jim Jordan's office saying there will be a second round of voting. We want to rewind to earlier this afternoon. Have you watch in its entirety that first round of voting, starting with nomination speeches.
The next order of business is the election of speakers of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress. Nominations are now in order. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik.
Mr. Speaker Pro Temp, Madam Clerk, colleagues, on behalf of the House Republican Conference, I rise today to nominate the gentleman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, as Speaker of the People's House. We are at a time of great crisis across America, a time of historic challenges in this very chamber, and a time when heinous acts of terror and evil have been committed against our great ally, Israel. As this body convenes for the sacred responsibility to elect the next Speaker of the People's House, I am reminded of the Book of Esther. For such a time is this. Jim Jordan will be America's Speaker for such a time as this. A time when hardworking American families are struggling under the vice of inflation, not able to afford groceries, heat, or gas because of the trillions and trillions of dollars of reckless spending by failed far-left government. A time when millions are being illegally trafficked and smuggled across our southern and northern borders due to the catastrophic and inhumane wide-open borders of Joe Biden. A time when violent crime is skyrocketing across America, destroying our great cities, suburbs, and small towns, where people no longer feel safe in their homes or in their communities. A time when American energy production has been crushed by Joe Biden's radical, failed, far-left policies, causing seniors, farmers, and families to pay more at the pump and struggle with skyrocketing utility bills. A time when the federal government is weaponized against we the people, who they are supposed to serve, stripping us of our God-given constitutional rights and wrongfully targeting conservatives, Catholics, and even parents at school board meetings. And a time when the people of our closest and most precious ally, Israel, suffered the bloodiest day since the Holocaust, with acts of inhumane evil committed by Hamas terrorists backed by Iran, grotesque atrocities, the beheadings of babies, rapes, kidnappings, and slaughter of women, children, and the elderly, and Israelis and Americans taken hostage. We are here in this very chamber for such a time as this. Jim Jordan will be We the People speaker for such a time as this. Our friend and colleague Jim Jordan is a patriot. He is an America First warrior who wins the toughest of fights.
Damn it, sorry.
Going after corruption and delivering accountability
God forbid
at the
people at work
highest
actually
levels of
need me to do
government
work.
on behalf of
Leave
we,
me alone.
the people. Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless
I don't really want to
for
watch this
far
second time.
too long.
I'm trying to look to
Whether as
see if
Judiciary
we have any
Chair,
information on the
conservative leader,
second one.
or representative for his
But I
constituents in
assume,
West Central Ohio, whether on the wrestling mat or in the committee room, Jim Jordan
I
is
assume
strategic,
that it's going to
scrappy,
take some
tough, and
time
principled. He is a
because
mentor, a worker, and above
of how
all,
they
he is
went
a
about
fighter.
it. So
And the American people know, we know, that Jim Jordan is a winner on behalf of the American people. Almost 10 years ago,
So I'm trying to
many
look
of
if
us
there's
sat
any
with our
update,
colleague Jim Jordan in this very
that
chamber.
can give us some insight.
When Prime
Because I know
Minister
as soon as I
Netanyahu
turn the
delivered
stream
his
off, they're
historic
going to come
joint
back,
address,
and I'm going to get
which
pissed.
some of our colleagues across the aisle shamefully boycotted. Bibi pointed out that in this very chamber, we serve under the watchful gaze of Moses. He said, quote, "Overlooking all of us in this chamber is the image of Moses. And before the people of Israel entered the land of Israel, Moses gave us a message that has steeled our resolve for thousands of years. Be strong and resolute, neither fear nor dread them." He went on to say, "My friends, may Israel and America
Okay, so now
always stand
they
together,
are
strong and
saying,
resolute.
as of
May we
6
neither
minutes
fear
ago,
nor dread the challenges ahead.
that they're going
May we
back to their
face the future with
offices
confidence,
and
strength, and hope."
they may
End
not
quote.
be
On
balloting
behalf of
again
the
this
American
afternoon.
people,
So,
let's face the future
since this is
with
a
confidence,
replay of the
strength,
original,
and hope. Let's
I
elect
will-
Jim Jordan.
we will take a quick break, and I will come back as soon as they decide if they're going to decide to go forward with another vote. This is kind of so this is kind of what's going on right now. So this is how the votes came down the first time around. Bacon, Buck, Chavez de Remer, Desposito, Diaz-Blart, LZ, Gabarino, Jimenez, Gonzalez, Granger, James, Kelly, Kiggins, LaLoda, LaMafla, Lawler, Rutherford, Simpson, Sparts, Womack, all voted against Jim Jordan. So those are the 20. The rest of the Republicans voted for Jim Jordan, as we can see, and every single Democrat broke for Hakeem Jeffries, who is apparently the only option if we want to have consensus and be, good Americans that follow the Democrats' lead. Gus Bilirakis is the individual that abstained from voting, bringing that number down from 218 to 217. He couldn't be bothered to show up for this vote. It's not like it's a big thing. So, in all fairness, Representative Bilirakis, the reason that he is not in session today, my mother-in-law passed away after a courageous battle with Parkinson's disease. Her funeral is today. I attended with my wife, our 4 sons, and my other family members. I'm headed back to D.C. now and look forward to voting for Speaker Designate Jordan in subsequent votes. So they could be waiting for him to return. We're still humans, and I think that's a reasonable exception. There has to be something. There has to be something. You would think that they could do to circumvent that process and still allow them to vote given the circumstances. But we all have hard choices to face in our lives, and sometimes you just have to. Yeah, I mean, you have to be away with family. Family comes first, and I get that. So I'm kind of 6 in one, half dozen in the other. I respect that, and I think that's an acceptable reason. I still think that you should have communicated or done something for your duty to uphold the office that you are a part of. So that's my thoughts on that. Again, reasonable, but it's 2023. We should have a workaround in some way, shape, or form, in my opinion. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, and that's true. That's true, and that's what I'm saying. I think that's a reasonable excuse. So, yeah, all hail King Jeffries. First of his name, failure of Dems. Potentially, I mean, you never know. And again, I believe in family first before anything. I would take day off from work. So I think that's reasonable. Some of us don't have that opportunity though, and some of us would still have to provide for our families. So, he's obviously in a point where he can have that ability to do something like that. I mean, good for him, I guess. But yeah, things happen. Things happen that are beyond our control, and I don't hate him for it. I just wish our system wasn't so broken and we didn't have to focus on things like that. Is my honest opinion of it, but it does. It makes a difference, and you're going to be drawn back to that at some point. You're going to say, "Oh, well, like, I don't know." So I go back and forth on that. I think it's a reasonable exception for him being gone. See, that's what I thought, but I think that they have to do a roll call vote on the floor. They have to do an actual vote on the floor for this specific thing. Could be wrong, but I think that's the way that they have to do it in this instance. So, but yeah, so that's going to be it for me. If they have a second vote today, I will certainly come back if I'm able. I'll try my best, which means that I'll do it no matter what. But so keep an eye out. As soon as I hear something, I'll come back. So, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe on your way out. I thank you all for hanging out with me today, and hope to see you all again very soon. Have a good day, and take care, everybody. Ultra, where are you? There you are.